Today I'm going to be breaking down my super fight that happened at the first inaugural BJJ World Championship. It was hosted at Val Jiu-Jitsu here in Austin, Texas. What's interesting about this match, it was actually under the CJI rule set, which is the first time I've ever competed under that rule set. It was a purple belt super fight, no gi at 200 pounds. My opponent's name was David Buis, and I'm going to start the video with 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first round. That way I can specifically highlight some of the things that I think really helped me win the match. Specifically, half guard passing, my mount system, and taking the back. So I hope you guys like it, and I hope you find it helpful. If so, I'll do more breakdowns like this in the future. We're 3 minutes and 20 seconds in. I had gone for a lumberjack sweep earlier in the match, and David was able to stop it. He pinched his knees together, which pinched my knees together in between, and he was able to stop the lumberjack sweep. So this time around, as you can see, I'm setting it up again. But this time around, I'm going to really explode up. I had a good shot at it last time. I got a little lazy. Wasn't able to finish it by finishing on top. So as you can see when I go for it this time, I really make the effort to plant my hands and throw my weight forwards. I would love to come up into mount. That's ideal. But as you can see, my opponent makes that difficult by getting his frames in place pretty early. As you can see, his bottom frame is on my knee. His top hand will go to my hip. And as you can see, he's starting to push my hips down. That's fine by me. If I don't get mount, I would still consider this a win as long as I can get either A on top, but even better than that, specifically chest to chest. If I can finish this chest to chest and he has half butterfly, great. If I can finish chest to chest, half guard, even better. Couldn't get mount, I'm looking for the next best thing. So, as you can see, half guard, I get chest to chest. My next goal from here is to get to work looking for a crossface and an underhook. Now, the camera angle doesn't show it, but I get my crossface. David gets a really strong frame in. Now, what the camera angle can't show you from here is there's a battle going on for knee elbow position. My left knee, his right elbow on the far side. So my knee's up high, he's pushing it out. I'm trying to peel his hands. He's making it really difficult for me to flatten him out. As you can see, his back is up off the ground. His shoulders are running north-south. You can see a little bit of that knee elbow frame fight happening on this side. He's also battling my crossface. So a lot of this battle is going to come down to if I can get the crossface underhook or if he can start to establish his frames back inside. As you can see, I'm walking him. Since I'm having trouble with the hand fight, he's doing a good job fighting against it. I just start walking him back in to my right to keep him flat. You can see him grabbing my crossface hand. Doesn't want me to crossface him. He gets his frames back in. Except this time he's flat. I've flattened him back out. I establish my crossface. Now we're kind of back to where we started. I wasn't able to win the underhook battle last time. So I'm going to make an adjustment this time around. I try to pop the elbow off and circle my head inside. But he keeps his elbow nice and strong, nice and tight. I couldn't get it. So what I'm going to do is watch my right hand here. I establish an inside bicep tie. So I have inside position with my right arm. I can now use my elbow to start to clear that frame and circle my head inside. But before I do that, I have one more thing I need to do. I switch my crossface from what was a crossface to a reverse crossface. So functionally, I'm still able to keep them flat, but now I can use my forearms to frame his head down and away. I'm going to use my other forearm to open up this frame that's given me so much trouble. And pop it off. Immediately dive my head down to his shoulder. I want to take away that space. I want to be able to take away that space where he can get his frame back in. So we'll see it real speed. Try to pop it, doesn't work. Inside tie, reverse crossface, and now I'm looking to close this gap right here. Boom. There you go. Now it's going to be very difficult for him to shoot his frame back in. So I go back to crossface, underhook. There we go. Now it doesn't seem like much, but this is a world of a difference from what I had before. I can keep them flat. I don't have to worry about the frame. I also don't have to spend too much energy here. I can maintain this top position with not a ton of effort. I don't have to spend a lot of energy. If you've ever been on bottom and you've ever been eating a crossface like this and you've been completely flat, you know this sucks. You have to bust your ass to get out of here. Meanwhile, the person on top, not spending too much energy. So there was technique there to get to this position, but now it's also strategy. I'm spending significantly less energy than he is from these kinds of positions. There you go. Now, I'm not in a hurry here. I'm trying to pass, I'm trying to advance, I'm trying to submit, but I'm also going to take my time. Like, this is brutal. Let it be brutal. Try to pummel my foot in for the no hands pass. I try to mount right here. I try to just open his legs, clear my knee, and hop to mount. My opponent definitely felt that coming. So with his right hand, he kind of guides my knees and catches my foot with his leg. So he's got, now basically I have 3/4 mount. He now has quarter guard. I still have a very dominant position, although he's maintaining some kind of guard. So once again, I'm not in a hurry. I am not trying to rush and make a mistake. I want to let him keep working hard. Now from here, because David came up to his side, I'm almost behind his elbow, but not quite. The back take opportunity is close. I can smell it, but it's not there yet. I need to make sure I get completely behind this elbow. So in order to do so, I punch his arm through. That was good coaching from Declan. He yelled that out. Shout out to Declan. Sorry, I have a new drawing tool I'm having fun with. But yes, good coaching from Declan. So, bad execution by me, to be honest, because I do punch his elbow through, but I don't quite establish gift wrap or any sort of back take grip there. But notice what happens. Because I punched his elbow through, he felt the back take coming. So he began to shrimp and really fire his back to the floor and suck his elbow back in. But in doing so, you'll notice he let go of my foot. I end up in mount here. So my threat of the back take created an overreaction, which got me the pass to mount, which I'm fine with. So let's continue on here. There we go. Mount. Now what I do once I get to mount, you're going to see something similar to what just happened. But let me explain what I'm thinking here. A lot of jiu-jitsu guys, when you mount them, especially if it's a tournament or rule set where there's no points, which this one is. This was CJI rules, so we had 3 5-minute rounds. There's no points. So a lot of times you get to mount and they just hit you with the mummy. You know what I'm talking about? They just go like this and stare at you. So in order to attack that, I need to start cracking open his arms. I need to isolate a limb so I can start a chain of attacks. The way I do that is I take a cross grip on his wrist. I'm going to start applying weight and pressure to peel that top arm open so I can attack it. But that doesn't end up happening. What ends up happening is the threat of that got my opponent to make a mistake on the other arm. So yes, it's true I'm attacking this arm, but the threat created an overreaction where he left this little hole open here. So watch my left hand pommel right there and take the underhook. Now I can flatten him back out. I can get my crossface and I can start hiking that arm up like you see right there. I'm trying to set up an arm triangle, but David was just doing a really good job keeping his elbow high. What I really want is that arm to come down across his neck. But I couldn't quite get there. Now, once again, I'm in no rush. I'm trying to cook my food before I eat it, right? That same concept still applies from here. I'm in a great position. I don't need that. I don't need to work that hard to maintain it as long as I'm staying active and advancing towards a submission. I'm in no hurry. I want this to be as long and as exhausting as possible for my opponent. I go for the arm triangle again, same thing. I just couldn't get that elbow closer to his chest so his shoulder comes across his neck. I just can't get there. I also don't want to, this is the first round of what could potentially be 3 5-minute rounds. So in the background, there's that strategy of like, I'm not sure I'm going to get this. Do I really sell out on it now and fry my arms for the rest of the match? I'd rather not. So I am trying to finish this, but not that hard, if that makes sense. I know if I keep the pressure and keep the attacks coming, something will show up eventually. I don't get it right now, but as you can see, I think there's a sense of urgency building because I've been on top for so long, and I think some of that exhaustion starting to come out. So my opponent bridges hard here. Really bridges. But I felt it coming, and as you can see, kind of like what happened before, we have the issue of getting behind the elbow if I want to take the back. You can see my hand's already here on the back of the elbow. I'm kind of going to ride the momentum of the bridge and then shuck that elbow across. There you go. Straight into a wrist grip there for the gift wrap. Now, the reason I'm able to take the back this time is I get completely behind his elbow. But not only that, before, when I was setting up the back take, didn't quite get it. Didn't really totally get behind his elbow, and as before, you saw his shoulders were much more straight up and down. The more of the back that you can expose, the easier the back take's going to be. So whereas before his shoulders are straight up and down, now you can see the shoulders are more at like maybe this kind of an angle, which creates all this back exposure right here. So this time around, once I establish the gift wrap grip, now I know there's a really good chance at a back take. Get my grip, pull him up into my lap, and take the back. Hard to see with the camera angle, but there's hand fighting going on. I couldn't quite get an arm down to trap it. I kind of try to rush a rear naked choke here. I'm thinking maybe all that work I made him do earlier was he'd be too tired to defend, maybe be too discouraged at this point, but I think David competes a lot, so he wasn't really at all affected by that. He had a lot of fight left in him here. As you can see, he clears the hands. And now you're starting to see, even before he clears my hands, back control is all about, can their shoulders and hips move independently of mine? And as you can see, I've lost that. My chest isn't on his back anymore. His hips are not directly in front of my hips. He's starting to spill out. So right around here, I recognize I'm going to lose the back. I sold that on a choke. It was super sloppy. He did a good job defending the hands, spilling out. Now I'm going to try to get mount, right? I'm not going to go too hard trying to keep the back. I know it's lost. So I try to get mount. But my opponent did a really good job aggressively turning into me and trying to come up. He does not want to end up back in bottom mount. Nobody does. So I realize his hands are posting on the floor. At first I was thinking mount. Now I'm thinking triangle. Now I have no idea what's happening. I have no idea what's going on. David ends up grabbing almost like a reverse close guard here. Now I'm potentially in danger. This is a bit of leg spaghetti. We're not like exactly in a defined position, but I might get, depending on how the leg battle goes, like I might get lateral knee barred. I might get heel hooked. There could be a toe hold coming. Keep in mind too, at this point, I don't know if you can tell by the shade of red my face is. I'm pretty exhausted. Like all that work I did on top, that's true that I was spending less energy than my opponent. But at the same time, earlier in the match, there was a triangle attempt. I had to spin out of a toe hold. I went for 2 arm triangles. I went for a rear naked choke. Like when you're trying to finish somebody, that does take a lot of energy. So I'm pretty tired here. There's a chance I could get finished from, I wasn't too far away from danger. So I'm kind of working on taking the angle away from him and keeping my knee safe, trying to work my knee out. Now, we end up kind of, that's me trying to pull my knee out. Now we end up here. This is kind of like an outside ashi position, which you can't really see because of the camera is, I'm kind of sitting on top of my opponent's bottom foot. So I'm still pretty safe. I'm trying to come up to squash him and keep my legs safe. He pushes me away. He uses his shin and foot on this far hip that you can't really see to keep me away. But like I said, because I'm sitting on, not even on purpose, by the way, it kind of happened by accident because of that scramble position. His right leg is in the right spot, but it's kind of by itself, which left his heel exposed. So I end up sitting back and countering with an inside heel hook and won the match that way.